Now this sounds a bit weird. So I started doing some speaker training, as you do, and then I decided to do improv. Now improv, I hate role play. It makes me really uncomfortable, and I don't like acting or anything like that or comedy. But every year I've been doing some really uncomfortable things to stretch myself. So I did improv, and I reckon that's the best speaker training you can do.
It's a great skill.
It is, because what you learn is it's not about what you say, it's the ability to adapt to what's happening in front of you. So I think anybody who sort of says, oh, I'd love to do professional speaking, or I'd love to actually speak on a stage. Just,
improv.
Yeah, go and do some improv and just get comfortable with the uncomfortable and doing weird things and walking around a room swearing at yourself while you're trying to do two things. And, you know, the teacher was telling us to swear every time we stuffed up. We used an F word really loudly, which was really weird and liberating at the same time. But you got comfortable, and then eventually you just do stuff. So when I speak now, I mean, I can trip over something, I can make up a word, I can forget lose my place, and I don't stress. I just go, oh, right. I was going to say something. Where was I going with this? And then someone will remind me, or I'll just go, you know what? It wasn't important. Let's move on.
But it teaches you the most valuable lesson, and that is to listen. Because you're not rehearsing a response because you don't know what's going to be said.
No.
So you're reacting truthfully in that imaginary circumstance.
Yeah.
So listening is the biggest skill to actually sit there and listen without working out a rebuke or an argument or whatever. Just listening and then pushing a conversation forward. So that was my biggest thing with improv, is being able to not manipulate, that's a wrong word, but to push a conversation where you want it to go.
Yeah.
And listen.
Yeah.
And respond naturally. You're responding naturally to that. And I think podcasting's, that's why I don't like rehearsals in podcasting.
This is improv. I mean, this is the
improv.
ultimate improv. I mean, my presentations, most of them, I'll say they're improv, and people look at me and it's not that I'm unorganized. And this is why events, I have a run sheet. I know I've got an event plan for a session plan for my training. But often I go off on a tangent because I'm reading the room, I'm relating to what's in the audience, and then we'll go back to the agenda. That's what my slides are for. My slides are essentially to make sure that we cover the key information.
But that's a good public speaker there.
And also visual. Like there's some great speakers, and there's one particular guy that has been one of my mentors, and he can speak off the cuff. He's brilliant, and he engages the room and he moves around, but he doesn't use slides. So, good thing. But I said to him from a marketing point, I said, can you actually have one slide with your brand on it? So when I'm at the back of the room taking your photo, there's something there. So I said, I think you need it for that, but I love that you have no slides.
Yeah, I think one fault for a lot of speakers is they put too much on their slides.
Oh, yeah.
So the audience just start reading rather than listening to the person speaking about it.
Yeah.
And that's a keynote. Whenever you deliver a keynote, that's one thing we were always told. Just put block points, but you've got to talk about it. So
that's right.
Too much up there, they'll just read it and they won't take in what you're saying.
And it's also, like I said, for me, it's an agenda. It just makes sure I know where I'm going, but then the journey goes around and we go back to that, and the next slide kind of takes us back to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So, and when you do training, and you probably have done this in your lecturing, if you get a question that's completely off topic, you just park it and go, great question, let's talk about that later.
Yeah.
And it's just how you deal with that.
And you always get those questions.
Totally. And I love those questions because they get me thinking, and also it's like, oh, that'd make a great blog, that'd make a good whatever.
Yeah.
But then I forget it. So I've learned to, when I'm speaking, just to do a voice recording so that I can go back and go,
okay, what
was that thing? Or I'll say something, and then I've got this thing, I sort of step aside and go, that was great. And like I'll come up with some weird quote and I go, that was a really good quote. I must remember that for later. But I'm actually saying that so that the audio, I can go, I must remember that for later.
That's your mark on the audio.
Totally. And I'm just being really daggy and fun in the room. People just think I'm, because I'm just really, I guess, real. Like I'm myself. I don't pretend to be someone I'm not.
That's why people come and see you.